on a very frigging hot note, if you start pointing the finger at people and looking externally, you're a loser. I'm telling you, you got to change that shit. I cannot coach anyone that wants to sit here and say, Max, it's this guy's fault and this client's an idiot and this friggin' supplier let me down and this subcontractor friggin' sent me an invoice. Like, I get it. What it's screaming at you is lack of systemization and lack of communication. Now, is there some stuff that's going to happen despite having those systems? Yes, there is. But what it screams at me first and foremost is that there is somebody whose ego's out of control that doesn't want to take responsibility for their business, whether it was their direct input or whether it was a secondary party, that they are now responsible for that. Because I've had enough stuff go pear-shaped in my life financially where I could have just pointed the finger and been very justified in doing so. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast again. My name's Max. I am the CEO and president of Smith & Sons Canada, and I'm the ambitious founder of EliteBusinessAdvisory.com. Good to have you with us. Great if you're a first timer, just checking us out. Appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you're able to tuck something under your arm and implement it in your business that makes a difference. And of course, if you're a long-time listener and you've tuned back in again, I really appreciate you doing that. Great to have you around. Don't forget, like and subscribe. One of these drops every week. Get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. Answer the 3 questions if you're a good sort. I'll let you in. And what else do I normally talk about, Dom? Is that about? It's about long and the short. Hey, I didn't do an EBA? No, I did not. Get across to EliteBusinessAdvisory.com. It's coaching for contractors mostly, but if you're a hairdresser, I'd love to have a chat with you as well. Haven't got any of those on my roster at this point. I am running out of spots actually, folks, just by the way. But anyway, get across EliteBusinessAdvisory.com, hit the book a consultation button. And if you, if you can't find a spot there, let me know. Shoot me an email, max@EliteBusinessAdvisory.com. That email should be in the show notes, and I will make a spot for you. But I know that I've just come off the back of a couple of sort of intense moments, and now there's a little bit more space in my calendar. And look, the idea is not to sell you. You listening to me every week, perhaps, maybe it's not, maybe this is the first time you've heard me, but at the end of the day, for those that have been through that and maybe haven't got on board as a coaching client, they know that all I'm going to do is just chat with them about their business and try and give them a quick 30-minute download of what we can unpack and what we can improve real quick and send them away with something. And then if coaching is something you want to get into, we can cover that then as well. All right, let's get cracking. True to form, really, I'm just about bringing something to the table that means something to you. Because you're like, the thing is, there's so many places you get information. Getting reliable quality information where you can get some level of revelation and then you can go out there and implement and make a difference in your life and your business, that is where it becomes a little bit trickier. So, really what I want to do is if you're thinking about getting into business, and maybe you are, or perhaps this will help you if you're in business, this might give you a bit of an idea as to where you're up to. But today, what I'm going to talk about is the fact that stress is everywhere in business. And I might have mentioned this a couple episodes ago. I can't remember. I might have made reference to it. This might be a bit of an aha moment for you. You might go, wow, okay. Because what we're going to talk about is the fact that there is stress in business, and it's pretty much there's stress in all stages of business, okay? Expansion, stagnation, and decline, right? So people might think, you might be sitting there going, if only I could get my profit and loss to be up here and, make a bit more money, I would have less stress. Newsflash, it's not the case. I've been involved in all areas of business when it's been in, an advancement mode, an expansion mode, when it's stagnated, when it's in decline. I've been involved in businesses at different times that have all experienced those 3 stages. And it's really, for the most part, there's always been some level of stress on me. So what I'm going to focus on and what I want you to think about today is how do I manage the stress? that's in my life because I'm in business. Now, you might not be in business and you might, well, I don't like stress. Well, this might be the episode that's going to talk you out of being in business for yourself and go and work for somebody 40 hours a week or whatever and support them in their business efforts, because you can categorically say that the business development side, operating a business, leading a business, it's not for me. And so, managing the stress is going to be key to your success and my success. Now, all that stress is, you go to the gym and you lift weight. Well, lifting the weight causes stress on your muscle groups, and then of course there's whatever happens after that helps, tone your muscles or build your muscle mass, all that kind of stuff. So what we're saying is the stress that's on us is going to be different. There might be some similarities between the three areas or the three stages, but there is definitely going to be some more dramatic differences between, like a decline stage or a stagnation stage or an expansion stage, right? So stress during the business expansion. Stress will come from growth challenges because you've got to be managing people, timelines, and opportunities, okay? So right now we are, for me as an owner of a new building company in this town that's probably less than 90 days old, there is we're expanding, obviously we're out there, but what we're struggling with is we haven't closed any deals to any major level yet, and that's going to cause a bit of stress because what does that do? Not closing deals, we don't have much cash flow, okay? So that's a problem. The positive side, stress is a sign of progress. So here you go. This is how what's your attitude when you think about stress? Is stress something you're trying to run away from, or is stress something that you accept as being part of the game? And the part, I say this often, that resistance builds muscle mass. When you're out there and you are pushing weight, when we look at weight and stress, pushing those is actually something that's going to improve your physical capability and your strength. And so in business, if stress is the weight, it's going to be the thing that's going to increase your muscle mass and really help you develop. That's the positive side. And that can motivate your action. Now, other stress during expansion is strategies. So we're talking about prioritization, delegation, and effective systemization. And so if we don't pay attention to that, we will be dwelling aimlessly, okay? If we haven't got strategies overarching, we don't have the ability to prioritize, we don't have the ability to delegate, and we don't have the effective systems, and we're just kind of winging it, what you've got is a business by default, not by design. And I'm telling you, if you're in the expansion phase with an unsystemized business that is operating by default, there's going to be a catastrophic failure on the horizon for you. So just think about that. Okay, so stress during business expansion, it exists. Stress during stagnation, okay. Essentially what that means is you're spinning your wheels. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff, but the business is not moving and you don't know why it's not moving. You don't know what to do to correct the lack of, movement. Okay, so stagnation creates stress due to unfulfilled potential. Because again, I might have said in the last podcast, I was talking about a country song that says, I thought I would have been a millionaire by now, driving a Porsche on the West Coast or whatever. That really is going to create stress because you're going to get impatient with yourself, and then you might start playing the blame game. People, mate, I tell you what, on a very frigging hot note, if you start pointing the finger at people and looking externally, you're a loser. I'm telling you, you got to change that shit. I cannot coach anyone that wants to sit here and say, Max, it's this guy's fault and this client's an idiot and this friggin' supplier let me down and this subcontractor friggin' sent me an invoice. I get it. What it's screaming at you is lack of systemization and lack of communication. Now, is there some stuff that's going to happen despite having those systems? Yes, there is. But what it screams at me first and foremost is that there is somebody whose ego's out of control that doesn't want to take responsibility for their business, whether it was their direct input or whether it was a secondary party, that they are now responsible for that. Because I've had enough stuff go pear-shaped in my life financially where I could have just pointed the finger and been very justified in doing so. But why I decided to embrace the failure was because that then means I own the solution. okay? I don't want to empower a third party and say, oh, it was because of him that my business failed. Well, then how are you supposed to fix your shit then? It's just impossible because your mindset's not right. Get it right. So, a little bit of harsh talk there, but yeah, it's all with love. See, if I didn't care, I mean, I'm literally not talking to anybody. I've got my video producer here, but I'm not talking to anyone specifically. I'm not getting any feedback from, the camera. This is all very much from my own personal experience and maybe some of the instances that I've witnessed over the last, little while. And so really, we've got to make sure that, that unfulfilled potential inspires you to get better and that you take responsibility for improvement. So what we're trying to get you out of, is that zone whereby you don't feel like, because I think the stress, let's face it, if you're expanding, it's probably, and you're more optimistic about things because you feel like you've got some success happening around you, you might actually feel like that stress is easier to bear than the stress whereby you've, gone around, I've been in this game, Max, for 7 years and I still only make 50 grand a year and I still drive a shitbox truck and my wife hates me because she wants a new kitchen. I can't even afford to do that. Like, see that's poisonous, and we've got to remedy that stuff. You've got to communicate because you've got to learn how to absorb that stress, or you've got to get out. There's some guys I've looked fair and square in the eye. I said, mate, you're not built to run a building company. You're probably a great second in command. You're really good with systems and technology, but you're not a lead dog. Ask yourself the question. You've got to be honest with yourself, guys and gals. Life is short. Eat the dessert first. You've got to find out which pocket you should be in. Right? I mean, I don't understand really football positions. I've got kids that play high school football. I got no clue, right? But I just know that by, looking at what they do, they play a specific role. They do a certain thing. It's like you've got to find out what your groove is, what your position on the field is going to be. And if you can't throw the ball, then you're not a quarterback. So move. If you're like me and you're 6'2" and 260 pounds, his odds on is you're not a quarterback. What would I be, Dom? I'd be a D-liner. Yeah, I don't know what they do, but D-line, that's who I'd be. But that's what I mean. You got to find your spot. You got to find your spot. Why are you playing on the team? It's like if I, in my rock and roll band, if I pushed Kevy off the drums and said, I'm going to drum. Now, I can hit a cymbal, but I am not a drummer. I am not going to toe that line. I can dick around and have a little bit of fun. But, mate, I'm a lead guitarist. That's my strong. Ain't nobody's taking that spot off me, right? That's my pocket. That's my groove. Figure out where you are. Okay, stagnation. The positive side of stagnation and the stress that goes with it, it signals the need for change. So if you're just going around the mountain, and this is the beautiful part when I've got people that come to me and go, and I had a couple of these meetings in the last week, and it's so positive because I warned them, I've warned them. I'm like, I am a little bit straight up and down, and they kind of like, well, we know, we can tell off your podcast, we get it. But I'm saying, look, it's with love that I'm going to put my finger in the pain point because I'm standing on the sideline as a coach, okay? I'm not the quarterback. I'm not the D-line guy. I'm not a receiver. I don't put on a helmet and put a mouth guard in. I'm a coach, right? And so I am going to scream at you from the sideline. So it's, the positive side that you need somebody like me. When you tell me your story, I'm like, well, why do you continue to go and not talk to clients about the pre-construction phase and inject anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000 extra into your economy to give you the capability to be able to go and market better? It is a bit of a catch-22, just by the way, to do that. Okay, but there's certain things where it's like this needs addressing. You can't keep doing this. Oh, but Max, I'm only marking up. I'm doing fixed price contracts and I'm marking up by 18%. I'm like, that's not going to work, bro. You're taking all the risk and you're not making your clients pay the appropriate premium for you taking that risk away from them. Why would you? That's bad business, bro. This is the nature of the conversation that you and I would have if you got on that call with me for 30 minutes. I would hesitate to say that it could be a fairly eye-opening moment for you. And the reason is I sit here and I talk very generically and very generally. But you're sitting there right now with questions in your mind going, I really have got this specific question for Max. Right. you need to like hit me up. Like there's only a few spots per week because my calendar is quite full. But you just, how are you going to get those answers? Now, if you pop it on, maybe if you go across to Business for Builders VIP and you answer the 3 questions like I asked you to do, and you're a good sort and I'll let you in, then you can start really conversing with other builders and contractors, asking them the questions, and I curate that, I watch that. So guys, it's got to be that signal for change when you're in the stagnation mode. Okay, so strategies as it relates to the stagnation side. Obviously, assess the root causes, set new goals, break new routines. If you want change, something's got to change. The problem is we don't know what we don't know, okay? And there's the accountability. There's the coaching side, right? And so really what we've got to do is if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you don't want to do, and we're sort of, these freaking episodes, they're going out in October. And so we're sitting here inside of Q4 for 2024, and I bet you're thinking about, or if you're not, you need to, what just happened in the first 10 months of this year, and is this the way, do I want to do the same thing next year as what I did in this 10 months? Like, mate, I'm 51, and I can remember being a clown at 21, and it's just, where did that 30 years go? Now, there's a whole bunch of good stuff that's happened, so I've got no regrets. But what I'm saying is that you've got to figure out, like you can say, Max, kick rocks. I'm not calling you, bro. I'll figure this shit out for myself. I'm like, you sound just like me. Good job. It's just like, that's fine. See, this is your life. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not sitting in a seat of judgment, but I'm just trying to, if you're not going to take, at least consider taking some advice from someone who might be your senior by 1 or 2 or 3 decades, I think there's an element of foolishness that's wrapped up in that. You need to just take a little bit of an audit on yourself and go, hang on a minute. If I could learn from others, that would be a lot less pain and save me a little bit of money. Okay? You should do that. Okay? So that's just me kicking that out there. But nothing changes. So, but if you don't know what to change, you might say, Max, a lot of this is belief too. See, I believe in what I do. Currently right now, I've got a guy who's looking to buy a home, and mate, there's like 3,500 square feet of deck that he wants to rip out and replace because it's been there for 35 years. And, this gentleman fits our preferred client profile. And I think I did him a bit of a solid, but, I've got a quote sitting there ready to go. But I said, mate, I'm not doing it for free. So he paid me $1,500 to put together a quote to remove and replace 3,500 square feet of deck. Now, if you're going to do something, if you're going to quote something, a deck's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not very complex, right? So, it might take me, I don't know, between going out there and I took my business partner out there and we shot the shit and, I'm sitting down and I'm drawing out plans, or I'm using our CAD program to draw plans of decks so I can get understanding of sizes and, joist centers and everything like that I've got to replace. It probably was going to take me 10 or 12 hours. It's not a lot of money, but there's work that goes into it. And I'm not doing it for free because you don't even own the house, right? So that, just doing that for me, and of course my business partner's standing there watching me. And then the funny thing is this client's like, oh, so do I take that off the cost of this build or cost of this job? I said, mate, I don't do gimmicks. Like this, you can ask him. This is what I said to the client. I said, I won't say his name, but I said, I'm not Mr. Homeowner. I don't do gimmicks. I said, do you work 40 hours and then your boss takes the money back off you after 40 hours? Now, he's a retired public servant, so it's irrelevant. But he said, no, of course I don't. I said, well, that's what I do. I'm going to give you something of value. It's a fee for service. If you don't want to do it, we'll leave. Oh, geez. I've just got no time. And maybe it's because I'm old and cranky too, but I want to run a profitable business. I'm all about legacy. I'm sitting here doing this show. It's costing me money to put this show on. I've got a few, clients with Elite Business Advisory, coaching for contractors that have come because of this podcast. So in a roundabout kind of way, I am making money from the podcast. But, this is more about legacy than it is currency, and it's just evolved into something that turned into a business. But when I'm out there as a retail-facing client, and I'm telling you, I've got to go and we're recording this on a Saturday morning, and it's 3 minutes before noon on a Saturday, and I've been working in the office on that quote. I've got to go and do some rounds as it relates to some corporate, franchise business. And then I'm hoping to connect with a one retail client this afternoon that I had conversation with this week. So here I am. I don't think I've got one or two things to do, for one of my coaching clients. Anyway, I've got so I am working on 3 companies as we speak. I've got multiple clients, different, some of it's B2B, some of it's B2C. And so, you've really got to understand that to do something at the highest level, to move up from your level, you have to change. You're going to have to change your mindset. You're going to have to change your attitude. You're going to have to change how you execute on a weekly basis. Obviously, time blocking. You've got to think about your family interaction. Go back to the last episode where I talked about personal and how business goals really they interface with each other. Guys and gals, if you don't want stress, get out. Go and work for somebody, because that's where there's not much stress. The stress you'll get to be at home, because if you're a thoroughbred entrepreneur, you're not going to be able to work for a job. I'm either going to run businesses or I'm not going to live anymore. It just can't be the other way. Right, let's get on to it. Final part: stress during business decline. Okay, and this is a challenge, because as a business coach, I say this with love. I am not a paramedic. Okay. And I think something to think about, prior to coming on as a coaching client. Now, I'm happy to still see you. Okay. So don't let this stop you from reaching out to me. But what you're going to need is you've got to have some lead generation capability and some level of digital footprint, because I am only going to be able to coach you for so long and get you so far if we don't have any opportunity to speak to. Because I can't, I can sharpen up your axe, but if we've got no wood to chop, I don't know how much of a good axeman or axewoman you are. Does that make sense? So you might say, look, I really need just some heads up on marketing. Well, then the whole purpose for that 30 minutes is, Max, tell me about what you do at Smith & Sons for marketing. How do you go about lead generation? Tell me about what you do for Google AdWords. How many, keywords? How many negative keywords? How do I put my, my brand story together? How do I do home shows? Actually, remind me, Dom, I got that little video. I'll pop it up on B4B VIP. Just a little walk around. The home shows are fantastic, guys. So if we've got no, wood to chop, having a sharp axe is not going to do us any good. Right? What we need to go is, I've got a forest of trees. Like for me, I'm currently working on 18 inquiries. We had 18 inquiries worth about $2.5 million, and everything from, $10,000, outdoor deck repairs right up to, what were they, $500,000 carriage houses or whatever. So, everything in between. So, I've got plenty of wood to cut. This is why now I've got to focus on sharpening my axe. So when I go back to the forest and I start cutting a tree down, I'm going to get results and at the highest and most efficient level as I can, right? So, that's why I don't want it to be prohibitive. Come and talk to me. Let me talk about, I want to listen. I mean, I've had some guys that are scared of talking down the camera, but I've got other guys who are great at talking down the camera. So if you're not good at talking down the camera, you've got to look at some other medium where you're going to get your brand out there and your brand story. And you might not understand some of those concepts. You're like, what are you talking about brand story? What's that all about? What does that do for me? Right? So, man, there's so much to think about. And this is why it's very stressful. Okay, so stress during decline. Decline involves reduced projects, cash flow, and uncertainty. I would say out of those two areas, if you've got a business in decline, and a classic example of business in decline, if you are unable to pay your bills, personally and business-wise, because obviously business feeds personal, if you're unable to pay your bills on time, if you've got creditors chasing you, if your P&L shows shitloads of money owed, that's 120 days plus, it's pretty difficult. I think I did a video. I don't even know what episode it was, but it was a PowerPoint presentation I put together. And please look it up. Go to YouTube and search this. And the title of that was called "How to Unbroke Your Business." And in this phase of play, the stress during decline, there is a bunch of desperation and frustration, and really you're in the valley of despair. And so maybe that video that's called "How to Unbroke Your Business" will at least give you some insight and maybe a solution to your problem. But it's a terrible place to be. And once that nosedive, has got going, look, the major reason for building companies failing is because of undercapitalization, right? In other words, they run out of money. Now, two major reasons for that is, A, their pricing model. You know, this is why I don't believe in cost plus 16% or whatever the heck you do, cost plus 18, maybe 20, whatever. You know, or pricing fixed price and not marking up by much more than that. You just can't run the business. Now, that's one thing. The flip side is, you know, if you're costing jobs with less margin and your fixed expenses are up here, then it's just a matter of time before, you know, your billables per month do not create enough gross profit for you to even pay your overheads or your running costs and hit a break-even point. So, you know, cash flow and uncertainty really does, you know, uncertainty comes from lack of opportunity, obviously lack of sales, therefore lack of cash flow. You know, let's try and look at the silver lining. Positive side, it's a chance to reevaluate and adapt. And I kind of was alluding to that. If you're not, you know, maybe this is the time where, you know, the universe is saying to you, you're not equipped emotionally, mentally, you know, personally, financially. You're just not equipped to do it. And before the destruction gets much worse, you know, I mean, I'm not condoning bankruptcy, but in some cases, you've got to allow commercial law to do what it's there. I have lost guys in this industry because they applied a very permanent solution to a very non-permanent issue, you know, a very temporary issue. So, guys, and just on that, you know, this is where we start to see, when we talk about stress in decline, this is where, you know, operators' mental health starts to take the biggest hit, and it's where the self-talk is very dark. And I would just urge you, if you're sitting in that space today, first thing I need you to do is be grateful for the good things. I know it's hard to find sometimes, but I'm telling you, you know, people say to me often, how's business going? And I say, look, it doesn't matter. Everything that money can't buy is in order, okay? And, you know, I don't like to lose in business, which is probably why I get my back up, okay? But as far as, you know, do I need money to, you know, whether I've got $1 million in the bank or 100,000 in the bank or 10,000 in the bank, it doesn't move me. What really gets me emotional is where I, you know, in business, where I start to lose and I don't enjoy that. So it starts to make me, you know, it really inspires or motivates me to go, right, what do I need to do better? So my natural byproduct is that, you know, I go into a little bit of a valley of despair, but immediately I'm like, right, what have I got to do to trade out of this and get cracking? So, you know, guys, it is a chance to reevaluate and adapt, reevaluate your position, and then maybe you've either got to adapt the business and, you know, figure out a way where you can get hold of information like this for free. But it can be a massive struggle to dig yourself out of that valley of despair. Maybe you got to take time out. Just go and work for someone for 2 years. Get a breath of fresh air, take the stress off, and you know, just maybe reevaluate and maybe have another crack at it down the track once you're back in a stronger position emotionally and personally. You know, obviously strategies if the business is in decline, cost management, reconnecting with old clients, and then seeking support. You know, that's some, you know, some overarching strategies that you might consider if the business is in decline. And especially, you know, what I talk about when we're really nailing down on the activity key metrics is where we're stacking those metrics, not that they mean anything at the moment you put them in, but when I can see what's happened in the whole month, and then I can look at the last 90 days and I can start to evaluate a trend, that's really where the power comes. I've got one brand new client on the east coast of Canada, and he's already been into me about, you know, the activity key metrics, and I love it because I know that he's doubling down on the numbers. And so it's not him doing the numbers that makes me happy. I just know in 90 days time, or on the way through to 90 days, I get to look at the activity of the business, and it's going to be screaming at me. It's going to tell me exactly what his business is doing well and where his business is in a bit of a valley and needs some improvement. I'm telling you, it's just like that. And then, of course, while I'm pushing my finger in pain points and highlighting maybe where he's doing things well, but more importantly, you know, identifying where things need to improve, that tells me about the nature of the human being, the attitude of the operator, how they respond when there is stress on them from a coach, because that can be hard to take. I got guys that just freaking ghost me because they just know that I keep banging on about, and they don't want to address the issues. See, if you don't want to address the issues, it's like you can't drag a horse to water and make him drink. I get it. But if I dehydrated the horse and gave him a salt block, right, and then pushed his nose within an inch of the water, I bet you would drink, okay? It's just the nature of the beast. Whereas some of these guys just go, oh, well, I don't know what to do, and they suffer from indecisiveness, because the stress gets too much. The business is in decline, and they can't handle themselves under pressure. I think there's great examples. I think that guy, that pilot from one of the American airlines that landed the plane on the Hudson River. I mean, I've watched the movie. Obviously, I lived through the whole, hearing it on the news. And, the amount of composure, and this is the maturity level, and we'll probably finish on this, the maturity level that you and I need to run a business. And because it's never, like we just talked about, stress across all facets of your business. So I would think that flying an aeroplane is stressful no matter what, because there's always something on you that you need to understand and keep an eye on. It's stressful. And so, really for us, we've got to have that emotional maturity, the financial maturity, the leadership maturity, and that comes over time. So if you don't quit, you'll win, okay? Because the minute you quit, like I've got some Bitcoin. I'm not a big Bitcoin guy. Someone the other day hit me up, actually one of the band members, said, have you got any of that? And I said, mate, yep, I bought about $4,000 worth. It's now worth about $1,500. And I said to him, but you only lose when you sell out, when you cash out. I said, I don't need the money. I'll just leave it, sit there and see what happens. Like, see what happens in 10 years, right? So we go back to having patience. So, handling stress, I mean, stress is personal, and it reflects the care of your business. And I look at business failures that I've seen, and the reason for failure is lack of management. So that basically means the care that person took in the business, the outcome, the natural byproduct was the business went into a nosedive and it was in decline. It wasn't for anything else. Remember what I talk about my kids. Good decisions, good outcomes. Bad decisions, bad outcomes, okay? And so it is all on you. If you lose in business, it's kind of your fault. If you win in business, it's kind of your fault, right? So at the end of the day, if it is to be, it's up to me. I've got to learn. I've got to develop. I've got to be able to handle the stress, whether I'm in an expansion mode, a stagnation mode, or a decline mode. I have to need to understand, because the minute you flick that switch and you go, it's fine. If we're growing the business, it's my fault. If the business is stagnating, it's my fault. And if the business is in decline, it's my fault too. At the end of the day, I've just got to, no matter what phase I'm in, I've got to get better. My business has got to get better. I can improve my systems. There's always continuous improvement in me as a person. Okay, conclusion, stress is inevitable, but managing it determines the outcomes. So so it's like this. You're in a business in decline. You go, Max, what I'm going to do is I am going to make a decision to turn my business around. Good. Just please understand me. Decisions and choices are two different things. A decision is made to pull your business out of a decline. Right. Now, there's choices that need to be made every single day of your life now to see that decision. Choices need to be made to bring that decision to fruition. Okay? Make the decision, right? Think about the choices you're making on a daily basis, and always keep your focus on the outcome. Effective handling of stress separates, it really does, it sets the successful leaders apart. So you can sit there and blame everyone else and fail, or you can try your heart out and still accept the responsibility, and that's what will set your leadership style, apart from everybody else's. So I want you to be encouraged and understand that no matter where you're at, you're going to be in a state of stress. It just depends. You need to identify. And maybe the aha moment was for you today from this, this short session, was to identify, which stage you're in, which phase you're in. And then you've actually had a moment where you go, okay, well, I wondered why. I thought I was doing really well. My P&Ls show really good profit, got a great team, but I feel stressed. I don't know why that is. Well, I'm telling you, because there's still stress on you. It may be regarded as a better stress, but it's still weight on you nonetheless. There's things that you still have to worry about. My old boss, he's making all kinds of money, but there's always something for him to worry about, no question. So he would be stressed, even though he's making and probably worth billions. I don't know what he's worth, but he's doing pretty well for himself. So guys and gals, consider that. Have a chat with me. Go to elitebusinessadvisory.com, hit the book a consultation button, chat with me for half an hour, and we'll see what we can do. Get across to Business for Builders VIP, answer the 3 questions. If you're a good sort, I'll let you in. And one of these drops every week. Like and subscribe. Even share the show. If you're feeling rather generous, maybe you've got someone in mind that might benefit from just this episode, and maybe it'll help change their mindset and their view on maybe how they can improve or make their business better. You go and build a kick-ass business, and I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.